Ladies and gentlemen, we are diving right back into Chaos Child. Are you ready to start the next route? We're going to be doing Yamazoe's route. This one starts a little bit later than the previous ones, but it shouldn't be too noticeable as there aren't many delusions left around Chapter 8, and we'll be skipping our way there. Alright, let's start a new game and dig in. And since we've seen this before, we're going to just start skipping here. Alright, this time, this is the first time we have to pick something that's actually negative. We're obligated to pick this negative one. So let's take this negative one. This was class 3-1, Ito and my class. Most of the class was busy with the Garo Froggy Cafe we were doing for the festival. Some people were ignoring the fuss and studying. Some of the otaku were reading light novels. Did they really think that if they left the paper cover from the bookstore on it, you couldn't tell it was a light novel? They were just trying their best to stay out of the way. Most people were happily making Garo Froggy decorations or putting on Garo Froggy costumes and messing around. All the clubs had to participate in the festival, but so did all the classes. Wait, this is the one before Karus shows up, right? Is this the one where Garo Froggy kills everybody? No one told me, but evidently several months ago we decided to do a Garo Froggy themed cafe. This will be a fun start. Idiot. Garo Froggy has a girl's voice. Oh, sure. But it's just a culture festival. We're allowed to change it. It's wrong. It's wrong. Huh? Ito tilted his head in confusion. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. We're all going to die. That's right, Garo. We're all going to die for trying to replace Garo Froggy's original voice with a woman's voice. We're screwed. We don't talk that way, Gero. Don't mess with us, Gero. Suddenly all the Garo Froggies in the classroom stood up on their own. There were easily more than 30 of them. It took me a second to process what I was seeing, but who could blame me? Who wouldn't be surprised if a bunch of Garo Froggy dolls started walking around of their own free will? It's pretty insane, I'll give them that. The next thing we knew, we were surrounded. We were like frogs in the clutches of a hungry snake, or maybe humans in the clutches of angry frogs? What's going on? The stuffed animals are talking. Worse than that, my friend. Wow, that's creepy. Hilarious. We would let anyone make fun of us, Gero. Let's teach them a lesson, Gero. Let the bloody nightmare begin, Gero. Their eyes weren't smiling. This felt really bad. What, you stupid frogs think you can pick a fight with us? One of my classmates carelessly approached the green Garo Froggy. Oh, don't! It's a good scene to start with, I love it. It was too late. The green Garo Froggy launched itself like a missile at his throat, then forced its way down. Like a missile at its mouth and forced its way down his throat. My stomach! My stomach! Something long, pink, and glistening slid out from the gaping hole in his stomach. That's when the screaming began. No one escaped the classroom alive. Garo Froggies showed no mercy. They indiscriminately slaughtered both boys and girls, and I was the least lucky of all. I was the last survivor. If only they killed me sooner, I wouldn't have had to piss myself in despair trapped in a classroom where the walls were covered in blood, guts, and brains. I wouldn't have had to see my classmates die. They're just popping into people's chests alien style. We're gonna experiment on you, Gero. You're gonna be a human puppet, Gero. We're gonna enter you and control you, Gero. Please. Don't worry, the pain will end soon, Gero. Into his mouth they go. The green frog leapt towards my mouth. A huge wet lump forced its way down my windpipe and inside of me. I should have chewed off my own tongue and died that way with a frog in my throat. But it was too late for regrets now. Rest in peace. That's like something out of a cheesy horror movie. Wrongsiders these days prefer big budget action movies. You mean like giant 100-foot tall sumo wrestlers fighting people on pterodactyls? Yeah, something like that would sell them. Something like this? Nah. I erased the stupid simulation from my mind and decided to get back on topic. I took out my Pokecom and showed it to Ito, and we resumed skipping. Alright. I believe this should be the next illusion. I felt a cold chill and idly turned towards the door. My room was the same as always. There was no sign of anyone approaching it. I listened carefully to see if I could hear anything outside. Nothing. Come on, you're worrying too much. Huh? I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The doorknob spun on its own. The door opened. I couldn't believe it. I'd forgotten to lock the door. This is where Arimura shows up and stabs us to death, right? Someone was here. Who? Was it Sarika? Or Gen? Someone who had something to do with what happened yesterday? Was it okay for me to just stand here? Who's there? A small shadow slipped through the gap in the open door and came inside. It's an unknown girl. Who was this girl? Definitely not someone we had an entire route based around. Our eyes met. And then I realized I should have looked away. Yeah. But who are you? Her eyes were blank and out of focus. It was like she was looking at me, but she wasn't. Her skin was so pale she looked sick. She was mumbling something. She had something behind her back. It was a knife over 20 centimeters long. Shit. She was insane. And then I remembered. I remembered who she was. She was the girl at the crime scene. What was she doing here? The witnesses have to die. They have to die. What? Die! She leapt on me without warning. I felt a terrible pain in my solar plexus. I looked down and saw the knife was embedded deep within my chest. She giggled as she pulled the knife out. Are they? I swear, the devs must have been. Someone must have been having fun with doing all these brutal death routes and all these like awkward gurgling sounds. Like every single character has had like a moment where they awkwardly make gurgling sounds. And again, and again, and again. Remember, a sound engineer had to find something to record to make this sound. Probably, and again. The knife went in. How could someone die like this? It was insane, I thought. That's stupid. That wasn't gonna happen. Yeah, no way, no. I kept telling myself that as I went over and locked the door. It's just like how after you go see a horror movie, you end up afraid to go to the bathroom at night. One theory said that a scary experience like that throws the brain into overdrive and causes it to emit too much dopamine, triggering strong delusions. Basically, I'm overthinking it. Nothing crazy like that was actually gonna happen. It was physically impossible. I was fine, just fine. Dude, people can open your door though, that's true. You don't lock that shit. I took a deep breath and managed to calm myself down. And we're moving right into skipping. That's fun. I think we have to do this one negative. Let's see. Let's see. What was she doing here? Yup, right into the negative. We're gonna get murdered. Takuru? Takuru? Brings you here. No, The woman, no, the girl, stared at us suspiciously. And then for the first time she realized I couldn't take my eyes off her. What's wrong with you people?
何ほうけてるのあなたたち。
は
The words wouldn't come out. What do I say? Why was she here? Why was she acting so normal? Oh, we're gonna die. Without warning, the girl started to laugh.
やっと見つけた。
I finally found you.
見つけましたよ。
Found you. Oh, she's too happy. This isn't good. This is not good. We're dead here, right? Everyone froze. Even Karus seemed uncertain of what to do as she stared at the girl. The girl jammed her hand inside her pocket. And she took out a butterfly knife. He pointed the blade right at me.
Miyashiro Takuru.
Takuru Miyashiro.
死ねよ。
It's time for you to die. The best thing the best thing about this scene is, after her parting words for us, regardless of what delusion we have, or if we even have a delusion, are, you're going to die. So it's kind of funny that she says, like, oh, you're gonna die. She's like an omen of death anyway. Was she really a murderer then? I tried to run. I tried to turn around and run right out the room. But unfortunately, Ito was in my way. I ran straight into him and fell backwards to the ground. Crap. Alarm bells were going off in my head. Run, 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 run. Get off the ground and run.
捕まえた。
Gotcha. It's serial killer Arimura. I felt something cold up against my neck.
Bye
Bye bye. And then came the pain. Felt strangely detached and indifferent as I watched blood splurt out of my own neck. Even though I knew it was something I had imagined, it still gave me goosebumps. Something like that could really happen right now. I just wanted anybody to give me an explanation.
のんちゃん、知り合いなの？
Oh, no, do you know her? Sarika motioned towards the girl.
ええ、後輩。2年生で文芸部部長の有村ひなえさん。
She's Hine Arimura. She's the second year who leads the literature club and possibly a serial killer.
どうもです。
Oh, hello. But not in any actual route we've seen so far. In fact, she hasn't killed anyone in any of the routes. If someone is smaller than his or her arms should be shorter, can't you hold her back? I mean, it's even man versus woman. On average, man is greater strength. Have you met this character? Takuru's the kind of guy who, like, literally lets people stab him to death. And is just like, please don't. And then dies. I feel like most people could beat Takuru in a fight. And our next illusion will also be negative. This one, actually. Alright, we have to do this delusion. And it has to be negative. I'm trying to remember what the negative for this is. The lights were on in the room at the end of the living room on the 3rd floor. Is this where they're all dead? Which meant she was awake. I'd known she would be, but still I couldn't help but sigh. That was the end of my last hope. After Sarika had answered the phone, she'd handed it to me without saying a word. We're consigned to visiting Alba dorm. Just like I expected, her voice was calm. Both me, Sarika, and Ito knew from experience that meant she was angry. Nono's a terrifying person. She told me to come home immediately in a flat, emotionless voice. I couldn't even make any excuses. I'd been hoping she'd been asleep when I got back, but now I realized there was never any chance of that. No, I didn't know for certain she wanted to talk about what happened today. It might be about something else. It could be about anything. Anything. Maybe Karus was feeling worried too. I was already a witness to one death, and now today I'd seen another. They were all part of the same series of murders and the killer hadn't been caught yet. Maybe I was in a dangerous situation. I was trying to find the killer just like the police. It was possible I'd gotten in too deep, and now the killer would come after me. Wait a minute. You only know when you're too deep? When you're too deep, you know you're too deep. You don't just be like, oh, I might be too deep because I've seen something. It's like, once you know something, you're like, ah, shit, I know I'm in too deep because this is something someone would kill me for. Wait a minute. Bruce is the vice president of the newspaper club and my sister. Maybe she was in danger too. It wasn't all that long ago she'd been stabbed. They arrested the guy that stabbed her, but I'd heard that guy was practically insane. What if the real killer sent him to stab Karus? What if the person found my phone, saw Carissa's photos and phone number, and now was after her? Oh, it's overthinking. I tried to tell myself that as I went inside the house. When I knocked on Carissa's door, there was no answer. I thought she might be asleep and tried to open the door, but it was locked from the inside. I'd seen the lights on from outside, so maybe she was sleeping with them on. I didn't see Dad, Yui, or Yuto anywhere. The house was always so lively, but it seemed eerily quiet. Why wasn't there anyone here? Where had they gone? Did they go to get food and leave Carissa here? But I look at the time, and normally this would have been when Dad was closing up the hospital. The front door, that is, the door to the clinic itself, was still unlocked. All the lights were still on. No way. No way. There's no way, right? I suddenly had a horrible thought. I started thinking of even worse things. I decided to try calling Carissa's cell phone from the line in the house. I heard the sound of a ringtone coming from Carissa's room. She was asleep after all. Why would she call me here and then go to sleep? What the heck was she thinking?
Oi, Carissa.
Hey, Carissa, open up. Wake up. Carissa, wake up, come on. That was strange. I was pounding on the door and there was no response from the inside. I had a bad premonition. There was no way. It wasn't possible, right? I tried to tell myself everything was fine, but it wasn't working. I decided to kick down her door. I ran inside the room and gasped at what I saw. The whole room was covered in red. Red. The walls, bed, carpet, desk, stuffed animals. The room was covered with bright red blood everywhere you looked. The smell of blood was strong enough I almost threw up and I couldn't bring myself to take another step. Whose blood was this? There was no sign of Carissa in the room. She was gone. No, not only were Dad, Yui, and Yuto missing, but also was Carissa. She disappeared, leaving behind all this blood. Leaving behind her smartphone, she disappeared without a trace. The door was locked from the inside. Even the windows were locked. The words "missing persons case" flashed through my mind, but I knew it was worse than that. I fell to my knees and clasped my head in my hands. Despair. Despair. I knew that Dad, Yui, Yuto, and Carissa too were never coming back. That was just a daydream. I couldn't say for sure it would happen. I couldn't say for sure it wouldn't happen. The position I was in was just that dangerous. When I went inside, she was sitting on the bed waiting for me. She does the good old movie Vulcan nerve pinch and just instantly knocks people out. Actually, it's the Vulcan karate chop this time. Alright, positive. I looked over and saw something strange in the corner of the room. Ooh, what could it be? The best way to describe it would be to call it a sword, but I wasn't sure if most people who saw it would think that. Its design was complicated and frankly unrealistic. For some reason, looking at it made me feel uneasy. It made me feel really bad, actually. What was that? If someone told me it was for cosplay, I'd probably believe them. If nothing else, it didn't match the image I had of the person in front of me. Not the Kei I knew from Shibuya News, or the Kunosato who'd been swearing at me the whole night. Did she maybe have a third identity? Maybe a famous cosplayer? A toy artisan who made life-size weapons? Maybe an otaku who collected swords like this? Either way, I felt like a bad idea to mention it. Best to just ignore it. Best to pretend I never saw it.
Miyashiro.
Miyashiro. Huh? What? Are you interested in that sword? Yes, we are. Mostly because it's mandatory to get into this route. Kunosato brought up the sword. Oh, she brought it up! And I was trying my hardest to ignore it. Good thing we're in a positive delusion.
No,
not really. I tried my best to laugh and avoid looking at it. Kunosato must have sensed what I was doing because she dropped the subject instead. So you are the true augur, after all? Kunosato, alright. She whispered. What was going on? Why had she brought us here? The windows started to rattle. It must have been the wind. The only thing I could hear outside the windows were the streetlights shining in the darkness. Or see outside the windows. Hear outside the windows. For some reason I felt very anxious, and then it came without warning. There was a huge crash as the windows shattered and a black ball landed in the center of the room. What's going on? I found you, Mio Kunosato. It was the tiny girl with glasses, the one we just took hostage. I knew her face. He was the girl we'd seen at AH Tokyo General Hospital.
つけられていたか。
She followed me.
見つけたからには皆さんの命はありません。
And now that I found you,
平等に
all
エ
of
ゼ
you
クショ
must
ンをし
die.
ます。
I will exsection you all.
宮代さん、あなたもです。
You too, Miyashiro.
は
What's an exsection? For some reason, I didn't sound very worried. I was having trouble keeping up with the situation.
トク。
Taku! Tsurika was clinging to me a little bit afraid. It was rare to see her look like that. Normally, she was optimistic and easygoing. As the man here, I needed to protect her.
私は風使い。人呼んでウィーゼルサイス。
I am the Windmaster. People call me Weasel Scythe.
ウィーゼルサイス。
Weasel Scythe. That translated to
かまいたち
Whirlwind. Whirlwind. I saw that her nails were shining emerald green. Did she paint them with luminescent paint?
セブンスのプラーガが出張ってくるとはな。
I didn't expect a seventh Praga here.
だが分かっているのか。ここはセロパライゾだぞ。
Don't you know this place is a Sailor Paraiso? Use your power here.
知ったことではありません。
I don't care.
我が使命はただ一つ。計画の障害を取り除くことだけですから。
I have one order, to stop anyone from interfering with the plan.
させるか。
I won't let you. Overacting, perfect. It's a delusion. Kunosato reached for her blade, but before she could.
可視化せよ、我が風。
Manifest my wind. A burst of wind blew through the room. The wind shone emerald green.
切り裂け。
Slice her apart.
島。
No. The emerald wind surrounded Kunosato's body. Her clothes were torn apart. It only specified her clothes, not just her clothes. Her beautiful skin and long black hair were ripped apart by invisible blades. Red blood flew through the air. Oh no!
なんだよ
What's going on? What's happening?
なんだよこれ
Kunosato fell to the ground covered in blood. Her hand just managed to grab the blade, but she couldn't fight like that. Kunosato was going to die. But all I could do was stand there and watch. If I interfered, I'd meet the same fate. I'd be exectioned. Again, it's very specifically not executed, it's exectioned.
オーガナイザー側のアウグルも質
Exection.
が落ちたものです、
The augurs of the organizers have fallen power, it seems.
久野里美代、あなた程度で私を止められるとでも。
Mio Kunosato, did you really think the likes of you could stop me? Come on, we're the chosen one! Kunosato gritted her teeth and staggered to her feet using the sword as a support. That's crazy. You can't do anything like that. She'll just kill you!
いや、
Miyashiro. What? With the last of her swing, Kunosato offered me her sword.
剣を取れ。
Take the sword.
私には使いこなせ
I
なか
was
った。
never able to master it.
お前な
Or
ら、
perhaps you can.
お前だからこ
I
そ
know, I know you can.
真の力を
You can draw its
引き
true
出せ
power.
る。成層圏グラジオラスはお前のために、カオスチャイルドのためにある
The
剣なん
holy
だから。
Ideal Blade Gladiolus was created for you, the Chaos Child.
僕の
Me?
ためにある
My name was the Chaos Child. Kunosato pushed it into my hands. Her arm strong, but not strong enough that she was forcing me to take it.
宮代拓る、
Sakura Miyashiro.
戦え、
Fight! Fight? Me?
戦
Fight!
え。でないとみんな
Or everyone
死ぬ。
dies. Oh no. And then Kunosato collapsed into my arms. I grabbed her and suddenly my hands were slick with red blood. She'd always been so intimidating that I thought she was taller than me. But her body was so frail, so light. She was just a girl too. But she fought so hard until she ended up like this. I had to do it. I didn't know what was going on, but if I didn't stop her, not only Kunosato's life, or my life, but Sarika and Ito's life would be in danger as well. I'd have to protect everyone. I set Kunosato on the ground, and motioned to Sarika and Ito to step back. I gripped the sword I'd been given tightly, and turned to face the girl in glasses, Weasel Scythe.
話は終わりましたか、カオスチャイルド。
Are you finished, Chaos Child? I glared at her
あ
silently.
なたがその剣を取るというのなら、ウィーゼルサイズの名にかけて容赦しません。
If you've taken up that blade, then by the name of Weasel Sight, I shall show you no mercy.
真の覚醒へと至る前に、今ここでエゼクションします。
I will execution you before you can undergo your true awakening. I didn't know what to expect. But if I didn't fight, I'd die. I had to fight. Our character is not the kind of person to do that. I steeled myself and took a step forward towards Weasel Sight. And I just got an achievement titled, yes, U-UMM ... So we've successfully sent ourselves sailing into the Uki route. We just have to not screw anything up too poorly. We are to resume in 8. Ooh, after the next murder. That's nasty. You're in your last year of high school. What the hell are you thinking? Sure, any Japanese boy or girl in manga would fantasize about something like that, but it's all tropes and cliches. What if it got launched in a magazine? It would have been canceled after 10 weeks. I blame the sword just sitting there in the corner. Any boy who saw that sword would remember his dark history. Anyway, this is no time to be thinking about that sword. I got bad news for you, Shinji. I got really bad news for you, Shinji. She doesn't give a shit about you.
Yeah, okay.
Alright. As I recall, we are back in here. We know Rika's dead. And people are thinking for some reason that Karus is the killer. So we had to push through past a crowd of media ghouls. You know, the usual 200 people outside your house trying to get pictures or talk to you. Oh, in this case, there's also business there. So we used the bullshit excuse of going to the clinic to get in. Dad was standing in the front lobby, chuckling. Good evening, Dr. Sakuma. It seems things are getting really rough. Yeah. This never happened before, so I'm not sure what to do. And I believe at this point we are not certain. We believe the killer is dead, right? Dad scratched the back of his head. What's Karus doing? We're here to offer moral support to Karus, who is stressed out about all the attention and people thinking she's the killer for some reason. Be kind of mean to say, I find this surprising, but she's pretty depressed. That's rare for her. I figured that Karus was like any other girl. She was either scared or depressed after what happened, but it hurt to hear that a strong-willed girl like her was down. Go see her. She'll probably cheer up a bit. Alright, yeah, let's go. Okay. Sharika and I ran up the stairs to the dorm. Nono's super depressed. I could see her sitting at the dining table with her head drooping down. Past her, hiding in the kitchen, Yui and Yuto were looking on, worried. There was a cold cup of English breakfast tea on the table, and Uki was pacing around, wondering if she should make a new one. I'm back, boys. Hello. They all looked relieved to see me. Takuru, Sarika. Glad you came. Yeah, thanks, Yui. I waved to Yui a little and tried to talk to Karus. Are you okay, Karus? Karus slowly looked up as if she'd only just now realized we were here. Her tone made it obvious she was trying to hide her shock. Came because you were worried? Thanks. Yeah. Ito says he's coming too. I see. Sit down instead of just standing there. Yeah, you're right. Sarika and I sat across from her. Uki quickly brought us some tea. Thanks, Uki. Karus, shall I make you some new tea? No. No, I'm fine, thanks. Karus smiled and politely refused. Uki looked a little sad. Hey, Karus? Yeah?
あんまり気にすんなよ。
Don't let it get to you too much, okay? All the people, I mean, they're all false accusations, so she shouldn't sweat them too much. It's just annoying being harassed in public.
アットチャンネルなんて秋っぽいやつらばっかりだ。人の噂も75日とか言うけど、75日も持たない。
Everyone on
多分1ヶ
2chan
月もしないうちに
has
みん
the
な忘れ
attention
ると思
span of a 3-year-old. They probably all will have forgotten it within the month. Don't worry.
う。だから、その間だけ
If you
ちょ
can
っと
just
我慢
get
す
through
る。
that.
私のことはいいの。何を言われても別に構わないわ。
That's not what bothers me. I don't care what they say about me. Oh.
でも
What?
私の大切な人たちや大切な家に迷惑がかかるのが
I can't forgive them for doing this to the people I care about, or to Albador. Her voice was shaking with sorrow. Yui and Yuto ran out from the kitchen and grabbed onto her from both sides.
ののね、平気だよ。私なら全然平気。
No, no, we're fine. I'm fine. I'm just fine.
僕も大丈夫
I'm
だから。
fine too. I'm fine too.
ゆい、
Yui,
ゆ
Yuto.
うと。
Wait, why did she say them backwards in this? Oh, whatever.
でも学校でいじめられたりしたら。
He says Yui Yuto verbally, and it says Yuto Yui in the dialogue. Alright. But if they bully you at school,
そんなの気にならないよ。
it won't bother me.
っていうか、ユウをいじめるようなやつがいたら、私がただじゃおかないから。
If anyone tries to bully you, they'll have to deal with me. 'Cause she's the mini empress. She's gonna be like no and terrifying to everybody. Bruce's eyes were wet with tears. I'm
ご
sorry.
めん、
So sorry.
ごめんね。
You're sorry for what? Like people reading interpreting
ののね
information
が謝
wrong?
るの？
Why are you apologizing?
何も悪いことしてないのに。
You didn't do anything wrong.
そうだよ。謝ることないよ、
You
のん
don't
ちゃ
have
ん。
any, that's right. You don't have anything to apologize for, Non. Everyone rushed to defend her. That only seemed to make it worse. Looking at her made me feel angry. To be fair, I think the reinforcement... She knows she didn't do anything wrong, right? So you probably should have... Instead of, like, defending her, maybe the right choice would be to show some sympathy for the pressure she's experiencing. Although that's easier to think about when you're not in the moment. It's really hard to, like, decide whether that's the right call or not. Or whether that's actually helping people. Where had the information leaked from? And why would information come out that made her look like an accomplice just because she was an old friend of the serial killer? It didn't make sense. It was crazy. And then I realized something was wrong. I'd been so shocked by what happened that I hadn't had time to think about it, but
なんかおかしくないか。
this doesn't make sense at all. The killer's dead. Why was there suddenly a leak of information that made Nono look like the serial killer? Good question. 2chan was always looking for a new target to make a fuss over, and Senri and Amisawa fit the bill perfectly. But had there really been enough time for them to start focusing on Karus and Albador? Even for 2chan, that was weird.
まるで誰かがそう
It's
仕
like
向けてるよ。
somebody set this up. As soon as I had the thought, I froze. Someone set this up? Were they after Karus or maybe Albador?
それってどういう
But
こと？
why? Why would they do that? Who would do that and for what purpose? What would they gain by going after Karus or Albador?
くそ、全然わからない。
It doesn't make sense. I took the phone out of my pocket and dialed the number.
どこ？
Pocket?
どうしたの？
What's wrong? Everyone looked at me surprised. I motioned for them to be quiet and stood up. I needed to move somewhere I wouldn't be overheard so as to not worry Karus more. I hurried to my own room and focused on the sound of the ringing phone.
早く出てくれよ。
Come on, pick up. Okay, let's reiterate the facts. We believe the killer is not only found, but also dead. We have the body. We've ID'd the body correctly. But somehow some information was leaked, linking Nono to the killer, despite nobody having a strong incentive to do so. And not only does it link them, but it also makes her look like the killer to give a shit ton of media pressure on people at Albadorm. We recently dismissed the idea that a second killer was possible, but I think at this point, Takaru is thinking there might be a second killer. Is it possible that there is a second killer? As we dismissed it, thinking that the Pyromaniac had committed all these kills, but that didn't make sense because the Pyromaniac The pyromaniac, the pyrokinetic doesn't actually have any powers other than pyrokinesis, and none of the kills involved pyrokinesis. They were all esoteric, brutal murders, not in the vein of burning people alive at all. After a long time, there was finally an answer.
Miyashiro-kun?
Oh, Miyashiro. Good. I was just about to call. Shinjo was in just as much of a hurry as I was. I cut him off and yelled, Why is this weird information getting out?
ネットの件か。今、サイバー対策課が調べてる。もう少し待ってくれ。
This is about what's on the
それより、
internet. Cyber Crimes Division is handling it, so just give us some more time. More importantly,
警察から漏洩したんじゃないんですか
the police didn't leak it.
それも含めて、今調査中だ。
That's what we're trying to find out. Shinjo sounded a little upset. He probably didn't want to think that any of his colleagues had leaked important information.
それより、君は今どこにいる？
More importantly, where are you?
青葉寮ですけど
Albadoa. Why?
ちょうどよかった。いいか、
Good.
よく聞け。
Listen
これ
carefully.
は君
Your
たちの
lives are
命
in
に関わる
danger.
重大な話だ。
え
What? Our lives are in danger?
俺も君たちも大変な勘違いをしていたんだ。皮肉な話だが、ネットに情報が漏れたおかげで判明した。
We have all made a terrible mistake. Ironically, the leak on the internet's what cleared it up. A mistake?
君や有村さんを襲ったパイロキネシスト。あれは
The pyrokinetic that attacked you and Arimura.
南沢千里じゃなかった。
That wasn't Senri Minamisawa. What? My eyes went wide as I stood there in shock. My grip on the phone tightened.
南沢千里じゃ
It wasn't
なかった
Senri Minamisawa?
あ、
That's right.
じゃあ誰なんです
Who was it?
灰田莉子だ。
Riko Haida.
は
Huh?
あそれっ
That
て
was,
偽
wasn't
名
that
じゃ
an
ん
alias?
そう。俺たちは
That's what we
灰田莉子というのが偽名で、偽の身元だとばかり思っていた。
So we thought. The Riko Haida identity was false and being used as an alias.
でも、ネット上に彼女を実際に知っているという情報がいくつも書き込まれているのを見つけたんだ。
But we found several comments online from people saying they actually knew her.
最初はただのデマだと思ったんだが、一応その書き込みをもとに彼女の故郷と言われる場所を地元警察に洗ってもらった。
At first we thought they were fake, but we used the comments to track down the place where she supposedly grew up and had the police check it out.
その結果、
We discovered
灰田莉子の実在が確認された。
Riko Haida really exists.
そんな
What? That
マン
means
ションで見つかった焼死体の歯の治療痕も地元の歯科医の記録と完全に一致した。
the dental work on the body in the condo matches the records at our local dentist perfectly. There's no doubt.
俺たちが南沢千里だと決めつけていたパイロキネシストは灰田莉子という全くの別人だったんだよ。
The pyrokinetic we thought was Senator Minamisawa was actually Riko Haida, a completely different person.
ちょ
Wait,
ちょっ
wait a
と待っ
second.
てください
I moved the phone from my ear so I could think for a second.
見つけた。
That woman wasn't Senri? Then did the real Minamisawa die in the Shibuya earthquake like Karuz said?
それなら
And why did she come
どうして
after
僕
us?
は狙われたんだ
I'd never known a woman named Riko Haida. I never met her or even heard the name before. I couldn't think of any reason why she'd come after me. What was she doing with Senri Minamisawa's ID card then? I couldn't think straight. I kept coming up with new questions.
もしもし、
Hello,
Miyashiro-kun?
Miyashiro? Are you there?
聞いてるか？
あはい
Yes. I put the phone back to my ear when I heard the panic in his voice.
さっき灰田莉子の検視結果がようやく出た。死亡推定時刻は10月23日の未明から昼頃にかけてだ。
We just got the forensics results back from Riko Haida's death. She died sometime between early morning and afternoon on October 23rd.
10月23日
October 23rd? The date of the supposed next day of the murders, which we believed had been missed because no one had died.
そうだ。
That's right.
その時間帯に彼女はすでに死んでいた。
By that time, she was already dead.
でも23日の夜僕はカフェで襲われたんですよ
But I was attacked at the cafe on the night of the 23rd.
これは久野里さんの説だが、君を襲ったのは灰田莉子本人じゃない。
Kunosawa's theory is it wasn't
別
Riko
の能
Haida
力者
herself
が
who attacked you.
灰田莉子の妄想を君に見せただけだ。
It was probably another
それしか
psychic.
説明がつかない
Create a delusion of Riko Haida that you saw. It's the only explanation.
別の能
Another
力者
psychic? I felt a cold, sticky sweat on my forehead, and now we know Riko Haida isn't the only psychic that we were under attack from. Another psychic. I suspected it many times, but in the end I discarded the possibility. That's why I
ハ
thought
イ
this
ダ
was
リコ
all
の
over.
頭部はかなり損壊していてすぐにわからなかったんだが、脳に肥大化の痕跡が発見された。猟奇殺人の他の被害者と全く同じだ。
Riko Hana's head was badly damaged, so it took time to find out, but her brain shows the same enlargement as other victims.
おそらく彼女は思考を操られ、自分で自分を串刺しにした挙句、さらに自身の体を燃やしたんだ。
She was probably mind controlled into stabbing herself with that rebar and setting herself on fire, matching the method of the other victims.
じゃあ真犯人は10月23日に能力者であるハイダリコを惨殺した。
The real killer slew Riko Haida, a psychic, on the 23rd.
そうだ。
Yes, right on
スケジュール
schedule.
通りにな。
ってことは
Which means I was too scared to say what came next. Shinjo said it for me.
ニュージェネの狂気の再来は23日で途切れてなんかいなかったんだ。
The return of the new generation madness didn't end on the
まだ
23rd.
続いている。
The murders aren't over at all. Today was October 28th. If the murders weren't over,
気をつけろ。
be careful, Miyashiro.
多分誰かが狙わ
They're
れてる。
probably after one of you. I felt like every hair in my body was standing up on end. I imagined a hand reaching out from somewhere and putting a cold blade to my neck.
新庄さん、僕たちどうした
What
ら
do we do? And now we know the terror. Not only is the killer not dead, but they actually got their kills right on pattern. Right on the pattern. And today is the next date of their killing. Not only that, but we're terrified because last time we holed up because we knew it could have been us. And we haven't circled the wagons. We don't have our defenses up. Everybody thinks they're safe right now. We need to make sure everyone's okay because one of us could be murdered at any time. Shincho, what do we do?
一人になるな。
Don't be alone.
君のところに
I'm sending an
今
officer.
後輩を向かわせてる。俺は有村さんの家へ行って彼女を保護する。
I'm going to Armor's house to keep her safe. Then I'll head to wherever you are. Understood?
はい、お願いします。
Thank you. I hung up, jammed the phone into my pocket, and ran out of the room. My legs were trembling, and I almost tripped several times. When I got to the dining hall, Karus and Sarika were folding everyone's laundry.
何かしていないとつい悪いことばかり考えてしまって。
If I'm not doing something, I just start thinking bad things. Karus forced herself to smile as she looked at me, but she must have seen the look on my face because her smile faded instantly.
どうかしたの？
What's wrong?
タク？
Taku?
ユイたちはどうした？
Where are the others? I couldn't see Yui, Yuto, or Uki.
ウキちゃんと一緒に佐久間先生のお手伝い。
They're
今日は
helping
も
Dr.
う
Sakuma.
院を閉めるんでお掃除をしに下へ行ったよ。
The clinic's closing for today, so they went downstairs to clean.
そっか。
I see. Dad figured that with all the media, he wouldn't get any work done today, so he must have decided to close early. I looked out the curtain and saw the street was filled with fans. None of them showed any sign of leaving. Whether this was fair or not, even though I'd hated the moment there ago, I felt glad they were there. With this many people, no matter who they were, the killer wouldn't be able to get at us easily. I went to close the curtain and saw there was some kind of commotion going on outside. The window glass was too thick for me to hear, but something must have happened while I was on the phone.
尾上、クルスのこと頼む。何があっても絶対にそばを離れないでやってくれ。
Oh no.
絶対にだぞ。
Take care of Karus. Don't leave her side for a second, no matter what. No telling her about the danger anybody's in. Just, stick together, guys. We'll be fine.
あ、
Okay.
ねえタクル、
Tucker,
何かあったのなら
if
教
something
えて。
happened, tell me.
後でちゃんと話すか
I
ら。
will in a bit. I'm
とにかく
counting on you,
任せたぞ、尾
Onoe.
上。
Yeah, good plan, buddy. Just don't tell anybody any information.
オッケー。
These two weren't psychics, so they were probably safe, but it was best to be sure, so I ran down the stairs to the clinic. Alright. I can see Uki and Yuto cleaning up the equipment in the exam room.
父さんとユイは
Where's Dad and Yui?
父さん、外でマスコミの人と喧嘩してる。
Dad's out fighting with the media.
喧嘩
Fighting?
はい。委員の窓から中を隠し撮りしようとした人がいたんです。
Yes.
それで佐久間先生が怒って外へ。
Someone was trying to take photos through one of the clinic's windows, so we got mad and went outside. I listened carefully, and sure enough, I could hear Dad arguing with what sounded like a reporter.
ユイも父さんと一緒なのか
Is Yui with Dad?
お姉ちゃん？
Huh? One? One-chan? Yuto and Yuki looked confused.
お姉ちゃんならさっきタクル兄ちゃんのところへ行ったでし
She
ょ
just went to find you, didn't she?
何？
What? Yui went to find me?
いや来てないぞ。
No, I didn't see her. Impossible. Yui's in
でも
danger.
確かに寮へ上がっていきました。
But I saw her go upstairs to the dorm.
そんなバカな。
That's impossible. We just came down the stairs. I turned around and ran back up the stairs to the dorm.
ユイ！どこだユイ！
Yui, where are you? Yui! But I couldn't find her, no matter where I looked. She wasn't in her room or the bath or the toilet. I looked everywhere. After I looked everywhere I could, I finally decided to check the dorm's emergency exit and shivered as I saw the inside latch was undone. It's always locked. Did she go outside? Why? I could feel my heart pounding with terror as I ran back into the clinic.
やっぱり
She's
ど
not
こに
there.
もいない。
そんなはずないよ。さっき伊藤さんが来て。
It's impossible. Ito just came.
伊藤？
Ito?
はい。それでゆいさんは伊藤さんと上へ行ったんです。
And she went upstairs with Ito.
伊藤と一緒なんだろ。
She was with Ito, right? She wasn't alone?
はい。
Yes.
そうか。
See. I breathed a small sigh of relief. It was just Yui. She might have been in danger, but if she wasn't alone, it wouldn't be as easy for someone to attack her.
とにかく伊藤に電話してみる。
Anyway, I'll call him. As I took out my phone, Sarika and Karus came back into the room. They were worried. They looked even more worried when I told them Ito and Yui had vanished.
ゆいと伊藤くん
Ito
が
and Yui?
どこ行っちゃったんだろ
Where
う。
did they go?
もしもし、伊
Hello,
藤が。
Ito?
ああ、宮代。
Oh, Miyashiro. How's
お
it
前
going?
どこに
man?
いるんだ？
Where are you?
どこってコンビニから帰るところだよ。買い出ししてきたんだ。
Just headed back from the convenience store. We did some shopping. Ito's voice was the same as ever.
ユイは一緒なのか？
Where's Yui? Is she with you?
ん？そばにいるけど。
Ah, she's right next to me.
そうか。
I see. Felt relieved, but screamed into the phone anyway.
お前な、コンビニに行くなら誰かに断ってからにしろよ。ユイまで連れ出してみんな心配してんだぞ。
If you go into the store, tell someone, and don't take Yui. Everyone was worried.
確かにそうだったな。
Oh
悪
yeah,
い悪い。
you're right. Sorry.
とにかく急いで戻ってきてくれ。ユイが危険かもしれないんだ。
Anyway, just hurry back. Yui might be in danger.
それなら大丈夫だろう。ゆいちゃんに何かあったら、俺が手術して治してやるからさ。
Oh, don't worry about that. If something happens to Yui, I'll do an operation to fix her right up.
あ？
Eh? My mouth hung open for a second. An operation? The hell is he talking about? Huh? And then I realized that I could hear muffled moans next to him.
おい、伊藤。
Ito?
今のユイの
Is
声
that
じゃない
Yui's
のか？
voice?
何やってんだ？
What are you doing?
あのさ、俺、いつか佐久間先生みたいな医者になろうと思ってたんだよな。
You know, I always wanted to be a doctor like Dr. Sakuma. Do you know that? Oh, look, it's been revealed. It's you.
だから何してんだよお前。
What are you doing?
やっぱコンビニで買ったナイフじゃ切れ味が悪いな。
This knife I bought at the convenience store doesn't really cut that well. This is probably gonna hurt.
おい、伊藤、何冗談言ってんだ。ユイを電話に出せ。おい。
Hey, Ito, stop joking. Put Yui on the phone now.
宮代、
Yes, sure.
お前さ、急いで持ってきてくれないか？ちゃんと切れるメスと麻酔薬。
Yeah, sure. Could you bring me a knife and some anesthesia real quick?
骨を切るノコギリみたいなのなかったっけ？これじゃあ、ゆいちゃんがかわいそうだ。
Also, do you have that saw thing that cuts bones? I'd feel real bad using this on Yui. On Yui. He hung up.
ユイ、どうしたんだユイ。
This is like the only character, I swear. You know, the first time I read this scene, I was really bothered by the fact that he was screaming into the microphone after the call was hung up. Like, we clearly heard the call-in sound. But I actually feel less frustrated this time, because I've realized this character is actually so dumb that he actually would consistently yell into the phone if someone hung up on him. He's actually the kind of person who would do this. It's no longer enraging. It's just like, oh, Takaru. That sounds very much like you. I pushed the call button again and again with shaking fingers, but he must have turned off his phone because he didn't pick up. And remember how irritated... What's going on? Why is Ito... Remember how irritated I was, I think the first time through this, that I was like, why is he not trying to find her or telling anyone anything, and instead wasting time calling when his friend literally just said he feels bad for slicing open his sister with, like, store-bought knives that he just picked up and wanted a bone saw? Like, Ito's not that funny. And if you think he's serious, even remotely, you should be trying to act, and our character, like, literally does nothing for, like, 30 minutes. I'm kind of used to that at this point on this character, honestly. It doesn't really, like, it doesn't really irritate me. It's kind of like, oh, that's pretty standard for him. Like, literally anything could happen, and he'd just be like, oh, that's weird. What's the least efficient way I can solve this problem? My mind couldn't keep up with this. It was too much to believe. Takaru, what happened to you? I heard what sounded like a scream. Takaru. Our reaction is, Alright. I suddenly felt like I was gonna throw up. I shoved my face into the sink and tossed up everything I had in my stomach. It was like I was vomiting up hate, fear, and despair. And no matter how much I tried, it wouldn't stop. Are you okay, Takaru? When I'd thrown up so much there wasn't even any stomach fluid left, I turned around to see Karus behind me. So he, like, threw up, like, 3-4 times, right? That's, like, a good minute or two, at least. Karus, the phone. Call Shinjo. And then, weirdly enough, he actually acts here. It's kind of weird. Usually he just accepts that things are happening that are bad, and it's like, it's okay. He's gonna be killed. I let Karus handle getting in touch with Shinjo and ran out the emergency exit to the door. Yui, where are you? Answer me, Yui. My voice echoed down the rows of houses. Some nearby reporters ran over. What's wrong? Did something happen? Did someone just leave this way? A boy my size, a girl a little younger. Did you see them? Those two, I tried to interview them. They ignored me. Where did they go? Wait. That way, I think. I ran in the direction he pointed without stopping or looking behind me. Hey, you. I could hear them asking what happened, but I didn't have time to tell them. Yui, Ito, where are you? I ran, screaming the names of my little sister and best friend. It hurt to breathe, but I couldn't stop running. My only thoughts as I ran were of Yui's safety and Ito's strange behavior. Why? Ito, what are you doing? His tone had been the same as ever. It was the exact same tone he'd used when he was laughing about the latest weird school gossip. So why would he do that to Yui? It had to be some kind of mistake, because Ito wouldn't... No, wait.
もし他に犯人がいるなら23日だって南沢千里に代わってそいつが事件を起こしたはずだろ
If there was another killer, they would have done something on the 23rd since Senri didn't.
けど実際は何も起こらなかった
But nothing happened, which means it's impossible.
この可能性は消えたってことじゃないのかな
That's right, on Ito's own advice, we discarded that.
なんつうかさ副部長が辛いと思うんだ
On Ito's own advice, we gave up the idea of a second member of this killing team because it's hard on the VP. Ironically, I still think it's incredibly amusing. We're dropping this because it's hard on the VP, right? Like, VP being Nono. She endlessly tells us to keep dropping the case, and it's like, now, the reason... It's like, now, Yui is going to die because we gave up on the case because Nono told us to give up on investigating the case and like believe that it was over. Because you know, on our own, without Nono's pressure, we would have still been looking into it and found out, and might have come to the conclusion that the killer wasn't dead, or at least been alert for this. But unfortunately, Nono kind of causes this death all on her own, as she's basically convincing everyone to give up and trying to force everyone to believe the killer's dead. Good play, or like to not investigate the case, even though it's now getting uncomfortably close. Good call on Karus. And that's when I gave up on the idea of there being another psychic. Yep. Yep, they used... Karus was used to keep you from trying to think, really having time to think about the case and realize the inconsistencies. It's great. Then he took that important note down and threw it away. That was deliberate. The more I thought about it, the more unbelievable it seemed. Yui Ito! How long had I been running? My throat was dry and it stung. I was gasping for breath and in dire need of water. Sweat was dripping off me. I was so out of breath I couldn't think. Where am I? I looked around and saw I was in a residential area of Shibuya. The reconstruction teams hadn't gone around to yet. There were still a lot of abandoned houses. Even during the day, there was little foot traffic, and there was always rumors at night. You could see vengeful ghosts of people who died in the quake wandering beneath the streetlights. It wasn't that far from Alba Dorm, which meant during my search I must have circled back without knowing it. Just as I was about to turn around to head for Miyashita Park or Hekiko Academy, I heard a faint sound. A tiny noise like tearing cloth. I thought I might have imagined it, but forced my aching legs forward to look in the alleyway where I heard it. The lights didn't reach into the alley, so I could see nothing but darkness. I could hear the sound of water going drip, drip, drip. Some house's pipe must have broken. I took another step forward into the darkness, as if I was being drawn by the sound. Suddenly, there were several sharp metallic clangs at my feet. I quickly jumped back, surprised. When my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw they were paring knives. All of them stained dark with something, their blades bent or broken in places. This knife I bought at the convenience store doesn't really cut that well. I felt something cold crawl up my back as I remembered Ito's words.
Oi. Yui?
Are you there? Yui? Yui? You know when someone's like asking for them and you're like, oh, this is a really sketch scene, they're already dead. I took another step forward. There was what felt like a puddle of water at my feet and I heard a splash. But there was no answer. I took another step forward. The splash got louder. And then I realized the liquid was sticking to my shoe. I looked down and saw my shoe was stained the same dark red color as the knives. This isn't just water? The wind must have changed course because the moment I had that thought, I smelled something awful. I inhaled a full breath of the stench before I could cover my nose and mouth. And then I looked towards the source of the smell. When my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I could see it. What is this? It was the unpleasant, but somehow seductive and sweet smell of meat. I could see small boxes laid out in the rough shape of a human body. It looked like some kind of grotesque homemade doll. The dark red liquid was flowing from the boxes. I suddenly felt an urge to throw up. How long did it take me to realize I was staring at what was left of my little sister? Because of that, it took me a while to notice the man further down the alley staring at the pool of blood. You. Why? He was holding the murder weapon in his hand. It was dripping with blood. Why? Answer me, Ito! I like how he actually yells. It's almost like he's starting to do something. Ito hopped over what used to be Yui and spoke to me in the same pleasant tone he always used.
どうしてだって
Why? That's my
それは俺
question.
の方の質問だよなお前さなんであの時助けなかったんだ
Why didn't you save her back then?
あの時
Back then?
なんで見捨てたんだ
Why did you abandon him?
捨てたって
Abandon him?
誰よ誰って
Who? Senri was suffering so much.
あんなに苦しんでただろ
Senri? Senri Minami-sawa? Why was he saying her name? Why was Ito talking about Senri?
ああどうだ自分の大切なものを失う気分は自分の無力さを思い知りながら後悔に苛まれる気分は
Tell me, how does it feel to lose someone you care about? How does it feel to have nothing but regrets and to know how powerless you are? I felt nothing but confusion. What I was looking at didn't seem real, so I just stood there and stared at Ito's face dumbstruck. See, we're back to classic Takuryu.
彼女は俺にとってかけがえのない存在だったそれをお前は見殺しにしたんだでもこれでようやく復讐も終わる
She was everything to me and you let her die, but now my revenge can be complete. Ito, what was the relationship between Senri Minami-sawa and Ito? What happened between them? It didn't look like I'd have time to think about it. Ito's knife got steadily closer to me.
次は宮代の番だ
And now it's your turn,
よく
Miyashi.
切れるメスと麻酔薬は
Did you bring that anesthetic and knife? Alright.
それがなきゃ
If not, it's gonna hurt real bad. Like it did for you. Ito smiles, a murderer's smile. He's been smiling that the whole time. So that's how it's going to be. For some reason, I'd lost the capacity to think clearly. That was the only thought that was left. I'm not even gonna look like a person when he's done with me. Just like Yui. The feeling overwhelmed me. All I could do was stare into Ito's bloodshot eyes and wait for the moment of my death. That's why I didn't notice the tiny girl behind me standing there and shaking. And you might think, this is going to be no-no. But I'm afraid this is exactly where our roots branch. If I had, I might have been able to stop her, but... Huh? The tiny girl tried to run between me and Ito, splashing blood everywhere as she ran through the puddles on the ground. She was holding a sword far too big for her. The girl, Uki Yamazoe, tried to use the D-sword to slice Ito in half. It'd be nice if she succeeded. That'd be an interesting twist. No, Yamazoe! I didn't know whether she lost control of herself after seeing Yui or was trying to protect me, but I still believed in my best friend. Ito wouldn't betray me. He wouldn't do this. This had to be some kind of mistake. Does Ito die here? Oh my goodness, that would be so... That would be quite the twist. I'd like to see that, but I'm curious to see what happens. Let's go. So... Something with a metallic taste rose up in my throat, which was still burning from the stomach acid when I'd thrown up a moment ago. The metallic taste filled my mouth, and when I tried to spit it out, I sprayed a shower of red vomit everywhere. Seriously. What the fuck? Takuryu, the most passive motherfucker on the planet. What the fuck are you doing? This is completely out of character for Takuryu to actually act in any way, shape, or form. Very strange. Like, usually, he literally just accepts his own death in so many scenes and lets people murder him. And it's like, they have to actually give him an attempt to escape. And after they give him like 5 minutes, or in the case of the main story, literally hours, literally hundreds of compressed hours, he finally reacts. In this case, he actually reacted immediately. Alright. No. Seriously? I thought I could hear Yamazoe screaming, but her voice seemed far away, as if my ears were plugged up. It was like an echoing from another dimension. So now she just dies because she can't protect herself. and Ito stabs her to death because he's berserk. He's like, he like tries to kill everyone near him, right? And then I realized I was lying face down in a pool of my own blood. I'm gonna be honest, I'm really surprised. It's like, I swear to God, he might actually be gay for Ito. This is a man who is completely unwilling to help Karus when she is in a life or death fight and just watches her die. He is someone who barely, like, who doesn't have the, he doesn't have an emotional reaction to someone literally carving up his other sister into tiny pieces and putting her on display. Like, his reaction to one of his sisters dying is like, oh, that's unfortunate, and he just lets it happen. The other one, he's like, oh no, Ito might be okay, I have to protect him. Really? I mean, okay. That's the way it's gonna go, alright. Please tell me he, like, bleeds out and is crippled for life or something. I hate Takuru. I know you're supposed to, I know you're not supposed to like Takuru, but I fucking hate him. Alright. You deserve this pain. Please tell me you're in agony. Huh? When did I fall over? Hey, what? Right, there are delusions in her route, and if we picked anything but the most positive ones, we auto-lose. I'd really like to see the negative ones so badly. In fact, I'd like to see it so badly. Hold up. You guys might think I'm joking. I want to see it. I actually want to see it. So I'm going to save, and just so I remember, I'm actually going to save another version of it at the exact same spot. I don't want to redo this whole route scan again, but I do want to see the negatives for some of these. We have to do negative to get to the ending, so the actual ending, so... Sorry, we can't do negative for any of these. We can't skip any of them. We might do them later. It hurts. There's so much blood in my mouth, I can't breathe. I tried to get up and breathe, but my body wasn't moving. Please, Yamazoe, help me get up. I can't breathe. Don't die, Miyashiro. Yeah, so literally the only person in existence that Takuru Miyashiro would immediately jump in to save is Ito. Every single other person, he is perfectly okay with them dying or doing whatever they want. You just have to help me get up, then I can breathe. Coughing up the classic coughing blood. Oh yeah, red flash and trigger on. Think positive thoughts. We won't die if we think positive thoughts. Taku! Honey, open your eyes, please. Taku, don't leave me. Oh, Uki can manifest people's delusions. They're actually gonna show up, right? Uki can manifest delusions. That's why there's delusions in this route. Ah, I think I got it. Everything started to fade away, and then for a moment it all came back. I could see Karus and Sarika holding me. Yamazoe was clinging to me too and crying like a little girl. Everyone's crying for me. I was terrified of dying, to be honest, but at least I wouldn't die a sad, lonely death. There were people crying for me. I'd always felt sorry for myself, and I never realized how blessed I was. Thank you, everyone. And then everything went black. Oh, okay. The moment approached for me to cross the boundary between life and death. Oh, okay, I guess he's dying anyway. Into the root. Butterfly.
Oi, Taku?
Oi, Taku, you there? If you fall asleep here, you'll catch cold. Taku, wake up. Yui, come again. Huh? The first thing I saw when I opened my eyes were the grain of the wooden table and my drool spilling all over it. I raised my head and looked around. Everyone was looking at me as I sat spaced out in a chair on the dining room table. Wait, come again. He's fine and not mind broken or crippled. She's looking happy? What? Yui's alive? Wait.
Yui?
Yui? Yui's alive? What? I leapt up and grabbed Yui by her tiny shoulders and shook her. Of course, I could touch her body and it was warm, so she wasn't a ghost.
Yui, Yui,
how are you alive? Stop it, Taku. Wait, Taku.
よしなさいってば、一体どうしたの？
Stop, what's gotten into you?
どうしたって、ユイが殺されたんだ。
What? Yui was killed. Alright. I'm alive. Look. I guess why? I don't know why we couldn't use Uki in literally any other route. It would have been real nice if we could have used this to like save like several other people, but I guess she has to be there at the scene of the death, or something, so you can fantasize about saving them. To be fair, when Karus dies in the main route, spoilers I guess. When Karus dies in the main route, our protagonist is not thinking about saving her at any point, or even acting. I'm alive. Look.
でも、伊藤がナイフで。
Ito killed you with a knife.
え？犯人俺か？
I'm the killer? I'm the killer? Ito glared at me, clearly annoyed.
勘弁してくれ。いくら寝ぼけてるったって。
Give me a break. Even if you're half asleep, that's not funny.
寝ぼけって。
Sleep? I let go of Yui's shoulders and took another look at my little sister. There were no cuts on her pure white skin, and there was no blood on her clothes.
もしかして。
Was it a dream?
夢？
Where's Uki?
当たり前だろ。
Of course.
どうして私が殺されなくちゃいけないの？
Why would someone kill me? It was so real, though. I could even smell the blood and guts. I could still remember the pain of being cut by the D-sword. I closed my eyes tight and ran my fingers along my temples. And then I opened my eyes again slowly. Everything was fine. The nightmare was nowhere to be seen. I leaned back into the chair. Of course, there's no way Ito would kill Yui. For a moment, the name Senri Minamisawa flashed through my mind, but I quickly shook my head to drive it away. The idea that Ito knew Senri and was after revenge was just a delusion. There's no reason to think it was real.
びっくりだよ。みんな緊張して時間が過ぎるのを待ってたのに。
It scared me. Everyone's been so tense, but you fell asleep.
宮代先輩だけ居眠りしてるんだから。
You were napping when everyone else was awake.
そうか。
Sorry.
悪かったな。
いろんなことがあったから疲れてるのよ。変な夢もそのせいだと思うわ。お父さんに見てもらう？
You're tired after everything that's happened. That's probably why you had that weird dream. Want Dad to take a look at you?
いや、いい。
No, I'm fine.
大丈夫。
I'm fine. Okay, now. Wait, I can't say no, because if I say no, that could be Nona's name. I realized there was a thick sheen of sweat on my forehead and wiped it away with my sleeve.
それより、今何時だ?
Anyway, what time is it? The murder... Ito shrugged and shook his head.
午前0時なんてとうに過ぎたよ。何も起きてない。
It's way past midnight. Nothing happened.
何も?
Nothing? I looked at the clock and saw it was a new day.
ああ。これで間違いない。
Yeah, this proves it.
事件はすべて終わったんだ。
The case is over.
タクル？
Takuru?
でも、新庄さんからの電話だ
But on the phone, Shinjo said... That's right, there'd been a murder on the 23rd, too. Which meant the return of New Generation Madness was still continuing.
新庄さんの電話って？
Shinjo called?
え?
What?
何のことだ?
What are you talking about?
Huh?
Everyone seemed surprised. I took the smartphone out of my pocket, and I checked the call history. It was gone. Shinjo never called.
あの電話も夢だったの
The
か?
phone call was a dream, too? I sighed again and sat back in the chair. All the strength drained from my body. I see. So the return of New Generation Madness. Return of the New Generation Madness was really over.
ねえ、タク、本当に平気？やっぱり見てもらった方が。
Taku, are you really doing okay? Maybe you should have Dad take a look at you.
だから大丈夫だって。クルスが言った通り疲れてるだけだからって顔が近い。
I'm fine. Carus is right. I'm just tired. Wait, your face is way too close to me. I could tell she was worried, but Sarika's face was just too close. I pushed it away, and then I realized...
Yamazoe は?
Where's Yamazoe? I couldn't see her anywhere. I remembered how her face had been twisted with despair when she attacked Ito in my dream. Even if I knew it wasn't real, I was still worried.
ウキちゃんなら今佐久間先生に呼ばれてお手伝いを。
Uki? Dr. Sakuma asked for help with something.
宮代さん、何か。
Yeah, sure. Do you need something? Oh. She must have just finished because she peeked through the door at exactly that moment. She was tiny and frail, but a lot more cheerful than she'd been before. There was nothing particularly out of the ordinary about her. I was relieved.
Yeah, 別に。
Okay, so this should be really weird for Sarika. She must be playing it down, though. I mean, she'd clearly know she had a plan to kill someone today, right? Maybe Uki rewrote the fantasy, but someone else dies? Maybe it must be someone else, right? Everyone we know is alive, so it must be a random. What Uki must have done was, like, change their target. Like, he fantasized someone other than her, Yui was the target. No one here was the target, so maybe some random dies elsewhere.
そうですか。皆さん何か飲み物はいかがですか？
I see. Everyone, would you like something to drink?
私グレープフルーツジュースがいいな。
I want some grapefruit juice.
俺はコーヒー。
I'll take coffee.
オレンジジュース。
Orange juice.
宮代さんは
Yeah, sure.
いつ
Would you
も
like
の
your
でいいです
usual,
か？マウ
mountain?
ンテン、何でしたっけ？
ちょっとダメよみんな。ウキちゃんはメイドじゃないんだから。
Stop.
我が
Uki
家は
isn't
セ
our
ルフサービスです。
This household is self-service only.
いいです。
It's fine.
私
I
が
want to be
やり
helpful.
たいんですから。
Yamazoe went around and asked everyone what they wanted, then went to the kitchen. There was nothing different about her at all. Before long, I could hear the tea kettle bubbling cheerfully in the kitchen. Okay, well, several days passed. In the end, nothing happened on October 28th. The return of the new generation madness had ended with the death of the woman responsible. She'd realized that she couldn't escape the police and set herself on fire. That's what everyone from the TV media to the internet was saying.
けどそれって事実
Is
な
that
のか?
really true? Something didn't seem right. This is the sort of thing that usually drove the people I despised the most on the internet, the wrong-siders who pretend to be right-siders, into an uproar. I didn't mind the ones who made aggregator pages filled with their own personal theories, but some of them would always try to connect everything to the most ridiculous conspiracy theories. And the worst were the ones who would post information about the killer, and not just the killer herself, but her family and relatives too, and say all kinds of terrible, unfounded things about them.
でも
But this time that hadn't happened. No information was available at all except for what was in the police announcement. It was as if someone was censoring everything. And not only the students at the school and the people of Shibuya, but even the guys on 2chan were already losing interest in trying to talk about other things. Even if there were a lot of things competing for people's attention these days,
いくらなんでも早すぎないか?
it's still too fast, right? But everyone was already talking about a new event. The Shibuya Restoration Festival is coming soon. Something literally nobody would talk about online because it's super boring.
ちょっとタクル
Hey, Taku?
ああ、
As I stared at the map, I suddenly heard a bone-chilling voice from behind me. Terrified, I turned around. Bruce was standing there, eyebrows raised.
何を考えてるのかしら
What are you thinking, man?
何ってその
I'm,
まさか事件のことじゃないわよね。もう解決したんだから、あとは専門家に任せなさいって言ったはずだけど。
not the case, right? It's over now. I told you, you need to leave it to the professionals.
いや僕だってこの事件に関しては専門家
But when it comes to this case, I'm basically a professional myself. Shut up, no.
これ以上首を突っ込むようなら
If you insist on getting
分かって
involved,
るわよ
you know
ね
what'll happen, right? Shut up, no.
はい。
If it wasn't for someone literally having the ability to rewrite the past to save people's lives, you'd be like losing your sister and you'd be dead. So like, fuck off, no. Her face was as terrifying as any creature from my worst nightmares. Well, I knew why she was so mad. She was really worried about me, and I knew that after what happened to her friend Senri, she was probably crying when she was alone. Still, she could be nicer about it.
このくらい叱らないと言うこと聞かないでしょ、あなたは。
I don't scold you like this, you won't listen, will you? How could she tell what I was thinking? Was she a psychic too?
何度も言わせないで。タクルの考えてることなんてお見通し。
Don't make
顔
me
に
repeat
すぐ
myself all
出
the
るも
time.
の。
I know what you're thinking. I can tell by the look on your face.
あ、そうですか。
とにかく、そのマップ
Anyway,
処
I'm
分
getting
さ
rid
せ
of
て
that
もら
map.
うわ。
It's taking up
邪魔
space.
で仕方ない
Screw
し。
you, Kurus. Screw you, Kurus. Kurus put a hand up to the map on the board to rip it off.
お手伝いします。
I'll help you. What's Uki doing here? She'd been standing in the corner of the room staring in wonder at everything she saw. She quickly dashed over to Kurus.
助かるわ、ウキちゃん。そっち側持っててくれる？
Thanks, Uki. Can you get that side for me?
はい。
They ripped down the map I'd spent so many hours on and folded it up neatly.
何？
What?
いや、その。
No,
文句があるなら正当な理由を
If you
納
wanna
得
complain,
できるよう
give me a good
に
reason.
述べて。
いえ、なんでもないで
it's
す。
nothing.
すみません。
sorry.
タクは相変わらず弱いね。情けないね。ヘタレだね。
Oh, you're so wimpy, Taku. A lame. A wuss. It's true.
本当です。がっかりです。幻滅です。
I'm disappointed. I expected better of you. Armor was occupying a corner of the big table as she read a brainless fashion magazine. Kazuki was at her computer playing ESO2 like always.
僕が弱いんじゃないからな。クルスが強すぎるんだからな。
I'm not a wimp, okay? Karus is just too strong.
タクルってば、よっぽど私に怒られるのが好きなのね。
You really like it when I get mad at you, don't you, Taku?
そんなことないです。すみません。
That's not true. I'm sorry. I shrank back and averted my eyes from the Empress. As for why Arimura and Yamazoe were here today, they'd both joined the newspaper club as of today. Yamazoe wasn't a student at Hekiko until now, but after the case was solved, she'd been allowed to enroll at the Academy's middle school. Hey guys, Ito came into the room and walked over to me, eyes shining. He motioned for me to lean in.
なんだよ。
What is it?
部室の中の女子率が超高え。
This room's filled with chicks and you're in the way. It's Ito.
邪魔で悪かった。
Sorry, I'm in the way, man.
なんか部屋全体がすげえいい匂いするし、新聞部とは思えねえ。
Ito, you thirsty bastard. The whole room smells great. It's hard to believe this is a newspaper club.
全国の新聞部の皆さんに謝る。
Apologize to newspaper clubs everywhere.
俺にもついに彼女とかでき
I
そう
think I
な
might
気がす
finally
る。
get a girlfriend at this rate. Okay, who does Ito think he has a chance with?
間違いなく気のせいだぞ。
And I'm sure you're wrong. Who does Ito think he has a
な
chance
に
with?
なに？こそこそ何の話してるの？
What are you whispering about? She knows. Circa put down her magazine and looked at us.
ああ、次の新聞は何をトップ記事にしようかってそうだ
We
な。
were just talking about what our next top article should be for the newspaper club.
ダウト。伊藤先輩は嘘をついています。
I doubt it. Ito is lying.
え、
That's
そ
not
んなこと
true.
ないぞ。
Right,
なあ、
Mishira?
宮代。
伊藤、無駄だ。
Ito, you're wasting your time.
ひなちゃんに嘘ついてもバレバレだよ。
You can't lie to Hina, you know.
うわ、俺って学習能力ねえ。
I never learned to.
先輩たちってばひどい。私をネタにしてやらしい話をしてたんですね。
She's not far off the mark. She's not far off the mark. She says, you guys are terrible. You're talking about something naughty that has to do with me, right? It might have been. I don't know what Ito thinks his chances are with her, but
それはしてない。
we were not.
またまた嘘ついてます。 やっぱり私を使ってあんな想像やこんな妄想を。
You're lying again! You were looking at me and imagining all kinds of things, weren't you? See, I told you. I told you! Armor covered her chest and thighs with her hands.
ちょっとタクル、
Talking.
伊藤くん。
Takaru, Ito, excuse me.
だから違うって。
We are not. I quickly ran over to Arimura.
お前、誤解を招くようなこと言うな。クルスが本気で切れたら何されるかわからないだろう。
Listen, don't say anything and they'll give her the wrong idea. If Karus gets really pissed off, there's no telling what she'll do.
思いっきり聞こえてるわよ。
You know I can hear you. See? Look how she's glaring at me. I scowled at Arimura and she giggled.
前から思ってたんですけど、宮代先輩とクルス先輩って。
You know, I've been thinking for a while. You two are kind of like a boyfriend and boyfriend.
Nani?
What?
夫婦みたいですね。
Like a husband and wife. No, no, no. I disagree. Hers and I both turned to her in shock.
恐ろしい妻のご機嫌を気にして、いつもビク
I
ビク
mean,
して
I
る
mean,
ダ
this
メ
is
な夫っ
accurate,
て
but I
感じで。
like her shipping Ito and Takaru together better. Like a loser husband who's always worried his scary wife's gonna be mad at him.
誰が恐ろしい妻なの。
Who are you calling a scary wife?
妙なこと口走るのやめろ。恐ろしいの部分は同意するが。
Don't be weird. I agree she's scary though. She punched me. She punched me right in the stomach.
痛そう。
Wow, that looked like it hurt. Kazuki pointed to the screen as I writhed on the ground holding my stomach. For the first time ever, Hana Kazuki has actually communicated something via text. Oh, hey, we learned something. We learned something. It's not Elder Scrolls Online. It's Empire Sweeper Online too. Empire Sweeper Online. All right. I'm still going with Elder Scrolls Online, but it's Empire Sweeper officially. And then, oh, Yamazoe left. Shit. Huh? I looked around in surprise. All right. Uki Yamazoe. Yep. The first character in Yamazoe's name is a mountain. That is correct. That is correct. 3 vertical lines, horizontal line connecting them. That's mountain. That is a mountain. He was laughing. He wasn't very loud, but Uki was laughing happily. Everyone looked at her in surprise. Huh? Oh, she's sorry for laughing. Yamazoe realized that everyone was looking at her and her face suddenly turned bright red.
ほら、もっと笑って笑って。
Oh, come on, laugh more. Excuse me?
ウキちゃん、いつもそうやって笑顔でいるといいわ。かわいい。
Uki, you should laugh like that more often. It's cute. Oh, you know what? You know what? I might know why nobody died. If nobody actually died on the 28th, I think I have an idea why now. If Uki's power is to make delusions conform, is to uncontrollably make delusions conform to other people's delusions, or reality conform to other people's delusions, then Sarika is no longer a killer because he doesn't think she's a killer. That might be why. That might be why they aren't killing anymore, because he thinks they wouldn't be the ones setting this up, so they wouldn't kill it. Is that how it works? Is that how it works? That's really strong. Maybe she'd never heard that before. She didn't seem to know what to do. That's why it's like so unnaturally wholesome right now. It's like things are going really well because this is like the delusion you wanted to live in. She didn't seem to know what to do. I'll go throw out the garbage. He grabbed the garbage can, which wasn't particularly full, and ran out into the hallway. Everyone smiled as we watched her go.
あれは卑怯だ。 不良少年がちょっといいことするとすげえいい人に見えるのと同じだ。騙されちゃいけないですよ、先
It's the same
輩。
way. It's the same way as a thug doing something even a little nice. He looks like a great guy. Don't let her trick you, Michiru.
いや、山添は騙そうと思ってるわけじゃないから。
Armora still the best character. Armora still being the best character despite it not being her route. No, she's not trying to trick me.
新聞部のアイドルの座が危ない。
At this rate, my position of idol in the newspaper club is in danger. Oh yes, Armora, the best idol.
新聞部のアイドルは私だよ。
I'm the idol of the
こ
newspaper
の座は
club.
明け渡さないから。
I won't let you have my position.
ほほいいでしょう。
Alright.
勝負です、セリ。
Let's fight for it, Sari.
望むところ
Sounds great to me.
いや、お前らさ。
Oh, come on, you guys. My head started to hurt. Yamazoe was one thing, but maybe letting Arimura join had been a mistake. With the case finished, the newspaper club was finally about to get back to work again. But at this rate, we wouldn't even be able to get through a planning meeting.
やっぱり何にも決まらなかった。
We'd never get any work done. An hour later, it was time to go home, and Wakui, the club advisor, kicked us out. We decided to pick the topic for our next paper at a later meeting, and everyone headed home.
だからね、何度も言ってるけど、渋谷復興祭の裏側を取材して、そのレポートをすればいいじゃない。
I told you this already. I think we should do a behind-the-scenes festival. A report on the Restoration Festival.
私もそれがいいと思うな。
I think that
楽し
works.
そうだ
Sounds
し。
fun.
意義なし。ミスコンとかもあるらしいぜ。ぜひ裏側を取材させてほしいものですな。
No complaints here. They got a beauty contest, supposedly. I'd love to do a behind-the-scenes on that.
やっぱり伊藤先輩ってそういう人なんですね。
Oh
金
my
輪
god.
際、私に近づかないでくださいね。
Hana and I were thinking the exact same thing. My thought was, oh, okay, yeah, Ito's that type, for sure. Alright, I knew you were that type, Ito. Never get close to me, okay?
君は冗談も通じんのか？
Can't you tell what I'm joking?
だから嘘をついてもわかります。冗談で言ってないですよね。
I can tell when you're lying. That wasn't a joke, was it? Ito and Armor were about to get going again, so I interrupted.
復興祭のレポートとか、そんなのどこでもやるだろう。僕はやっぱりニュージェネの狂気の再来事件の検証をちゃんとすべきだと思う。
Every school in the city is doing a report on the festival, right? I think we should do a real analysis of the return of the new generated madness case. It's still bothering me.
もちろんその南沢千里さんのこととかは。
Of course, we won't go into too much detail about Senri. I made my suggestion, trying to be as delicate towards Karus as possible, but...
しつこいな、お前も。あれはもういいって。それこそあっちこっちのサイトでやってる
Come
だろ。
on, man. We're done with that thing. Every site on the internet's doing that anyway.
私もそう思いますよ。というか、ぶ
Ah,
っちゃ
it's
け
free.
思い出したくないで
Honestly,
すし。
I don't want to remember it. Even Ito, who was so excited during the case, and Arimura, who was a part of it, were opposed. We'd had this same discussion during our meeting at school and gotten nowhere.
和樹はどうだ？
What about you,
僕の意
Kazuki?
見をどう思う？
What do you think about our proposal? Desperately looking to Kazuki for a line. The person who literally never talks. Did you say something she seemed to say? That wasn't gonna work. It was possible she hadn't even heard what we were talking about.
じゃあ山添は？
You? What about you, Yamazoe? Huh? I turned around towards Yamazoe, who was all the way in the back. She seemed surprised as if she hadn't expected anyone to ask her opinion. Her eyes darted from left to right.
私は別に皆さんの決めたものでいいです。
Ah, the classic. I'm fine with what everyone else decides.
それが決まらないから
We
聞い
can't
てるんだ
decide. That's why I'm asking you. Well, to be honest, it's only Takuru who can't decide. Everyone else is in one. Is of a single mind. I'm sorry. You probably thought I was mad at her because she shrank back a little.
ダメだよ、タク。ウキちゃんをいじめちゃ。
I keep wanting to call her Yuki. Yuki.
いじめてないって。彼女だってもう新聞部員なん
I'm
だ。
not being mean. She's part of the newspaper club now. She has an opinion. We should respect that, right?
なあ。
Yamazoe only shrank back even further and started to mumble.
いえ、その
No,
私は特に意見と
I
か
don't really
ない
have an
ので。
opinion.
すみません。
I'm sorry.
いや別に謝らなくてもいいけど
No,
さ。
you don't need to apologize. I could see the corners of her eyes were getting wet, so I quickly waved my hands in apology. At this rate, it would really feel like I was bullying her. In the end, I couldn't think of anything else to say, so I fell silent.
それじゃあ、タク、のんちゃん、ウキちゃん、また明日ね。
Alright, Taku, Non, Uki, see you tomorrow.
皆さん、お疲れ様でした。
See you later, everyone.
お疲れ様。
See ya.
じゃあな。
This is the first time I think we've had four. Is this the first time we've had 4 people on screen? Usually it's only 3. They don't usually seem to like putting up 4 plus characters, and they definitely left Nono out. Me, Karus, and Yamazoe said goodbye to the other 4 before we headed back to Alba Dorm. We watched and waved for a moment as they went, and then started to walk once more. No one said anything for a while. The only sound on the quiet residential street was our footsteps.
ねえ、タクル。
Hey, Taku.
Hmm?
It was Karus who broke the silence.
どう？
How
元
are
気？
you doing? Are you okay?
その、
Yeah, we're fine, right?
いろいろあったけど、もう元気になったかなって。
You know, a
ほ
lot
ら、タ
happened.
クルって結構一人で抱え込んじゃうから。
I was wondering if you were doing better. You're the type who keeps your problems to yourself, after all. Karus glanced at me and then looked away as she spoke.
いろいろ
A
か。
lot, huh? A lot. He probably wasn't just talking about the return of the new generation madness. He was probably talking about everything that happened to us since the Shibuya earthquake. I thought back to all that happened. Come to think of it, I'd caused a lot of problems for Karus and a lot of worries, too.
見ればわかるだろ。もう大丈夫。すっかり元気だよ。そろそろトレーラーハウスに戻れると思うし。
You can tell by looking at me, right? I'm just fine. I can probably head back to my RV soon.
戻る気なの？
You're thinking about going back? Of course. Karus is a control freak. That's a good plan. She was staring at me in surprise. Evidently, she hadn't expected that. She must have thought I was planning on staying at Alba Dorm forever.
いつまでも居候してるのは良くない。
Can't stay in freeload forever.
そんな。
But this is your
も
home,
ともと
Taku.
タクルの家なんだか
Of
ら、
course you can stay.
いいとか悪いとかないでしょう。
いや、僕にとってもさ、
I don't think it's a good
良く
idea.
ない気がする。
I'm gonna get spoiled
こ
at
の
this
ままだ
rate.
と
He's
甘えっ
gonna
ぱ
get
なしになり
spoiled
そうだから。
by Uki serving him like a maid and him getting fat on Mountain Dew.
甘えても。
There's nothing wrong with being spoiled. She seemed a little sad as she spoke.
聞いたか山添。お前、証人になってくれ。今度クルスに怒られそうになったら、甘えていいって言ったろって反
Did
論
you
す
hear
る
that, Yamazoe? You can be my witness. Whenever Karus gets mad at me from now on, I can tell her. She said it's okay for me to be spoiled.
はい、わかりまし
I
た。
understand.
ダメよダメ。
Wait, no,
それ
that's
と
got
これと
nothing
は
to do with it.
話が別。
Karus turned towards Yamazoe and held up her hand, palm outwards in a stop sign.
わかりました。
I understand.
おいおい、お前はどっちの味方だ
Wait,
よ。
whose side are you on?
それは、
Sorry.
すみません。
Yamazoe seemed genuinely sad. Evidently, jokes weren't something she understood. I scratched at my cheek, unsure of what to say. Karus rubbed her cheek with her finger 2 or 3 times in the exact same way, and then slowed her pace until she was next to Yamazoe.
ねえウキちゃん。
Hey, Uki? She forced herself to speak as cheerfully as possible.
はい。
Yes.
今度の日曜、ショッピングに行かない？
Wanna go shopping this Sunday?
ショッピング？
Shopping?
ウキちゃんの部屋、ほとんど何もないでしょ？そ
Your
れ
room's
に
pretty empty,
お洋服だってあんまり持ってないみたいだし。
Then I remembered. Yamazoe moved in so quickly we didn't have a room for her, so we'd cleaned out the storeroom instead. When I last looked in there, her room was basically empty. If it was still that way, it must be pretty bare.
でも、別に困っていないので。
ダメ。お部屋を明るくすれば気持ちだって明るくなるわ。
If
そ
your
れに
room's
女
more
の
cheerful,
子な
you'll
んだ
feel
から
better.
少しはおしゃれもしなくちゃ。
Since
タク
you're
ルも
a
そう
girl,
思うでしょ？
since you're a girl, you need to dress up a bit. Don't you think so, Taki?
え？
Yeah,
も
of
ちろん
course.
じゃないか。おしゃれはリア充生活のための第一歩だしな。
Dressing nicely is the first step towards a happy, normal life.
ほらね、タクルも付き合ってくれるって。だから行きましょう。
Taki says to come with us. Let's go, okay?
Huh?
What? Oh? Did we just get invited? What did the Empress just say?
あれもこれも買わなきゃいけないんだもの。女の子2人じゃ持ちきれない
There's a
わ。
lot of stuff we have to buy. 2 girls won't be able to carry it all.
要するに荷物持ちだろ。
You want me to hold your bags, basically.
違うわ。可愛い女の子2人とデートさせて
I'm
あげ
offering
る
you
っ
a
て言
chance
っ
to
て
go on a
る
date
の。
with 2 cute girls. Wait, don't you think it's embarrassing to say that about yourself? Or so I thought when...
そこで黙り込まないでくれる？ 言っちゃって自分で後悔してるんだから。
Just stay silent. Just stay silent. Well, would you say something? I'm starting to regret saying that. Kuru's went red up to her ears. Meanwhile, Yamazoe is frantically looking between us as if she wasn't sure what to do.
とにかく今度の日曜は開けといてね。
Just leave Sunday open, okay?
でも私なんかのためにそんなご迷惑を。
I don't have to do that for someone like me.
ちょっとウキちゃん。
Excuse me, Uki.
私なんかとか言っちゃダメ。あと変な遠慮もやめること。
Don't say someone like me. You're part of the family. Act like it.
私たちはね、もう友達。家族なんだから。タクルにも言ったけど、甘えるときは素直に甘えてほしいの。
We're friends. No, we're family now. I told Takuru this, but I want you to be spoiled.
家族。
Family?
そう。
That's right. We're a
家族
family
よ
now.、
ウキちゃん。
Uki didn't seem to know how to respond. It was like she was surprised, hesitant, smiling, and crying all at once. She looked at us, her expressions blending all of those emotions.
ああ、それとね、タクルのことを宮代さんっていうのも。
I think it's time for you to stop calling Takuru Miyashiro. What? Apparently that's
タクルもよ。
You too, Takuru.
う
There's
ち
a
の
rule
家
in our
族は
family.
ね、お互い名前で呼び合うのがルールだから。
Everyone calls each other by their first name. Fuck you, Karus. Karus's voice was cheerful, but I felt an ache in my chest when I heard her, because I hadn't called her by her first name in half a year. Looking back, it was all over something stupid, but for some reason, I'd gotten stubborn about it, and now, I couldn't go back. Even though I knew how sad she looked sometimes when I called her Karus, keep calling her Karus, she deserves that.
いいんでしょうか、そんな失礼なこ
Is
と。
it okay for me to do something so rude?
失礼じゃない
It's
わ
not rude,
よ
I。told you. You're part
遠
of the
慮はダ
family.
メって言ったでしょ。
Okay.
タクルも了解？
You too, Takuru. Got it?
了解。山添じゃなくて
Roger. Yamazoe.
ウキ。
I mean, Uki.
タ
Takuru.
クルさん。
Yamazoe Uki blushed as she spoke.
二人とも合格。じゃあタクル、日曜よろしくね。
Good job, both of you. Okay, Takuru, be ready on Sunday.
そっちも了解。
Yeah,
わか
Roger.
ったよ。
I get it. There was nothing in life so boring as being forced to go shopping with a girl, but that was part of my male noblesse oblige? Noblesse oblige? Noblesse oblige? It should be oblige, right? Noblesse oblige? That's like a really weird sentence. Whatever. You had to enjoy it the best you could. At least that's what Kenji Minamikata's column said in Cool Cat Press. Oh, yes.
それじゃあ決まりね。
Alright,
楽
settled.
しみだわ。
I can't wait. Karus tapped Uki lightly on the shoulder. Uki still didn't seem to know that what to say, but at least she said thank you in a tiny voice. And then,
家族。
family. She whispered the word again. I couldn't tell for sure, but she sounded very happy. And now it's Sunday? And now it's Sunday, alright. I think at the start of our Sunday is where we're gonna wrap things up. I'm curious to see what the plot hook for this route is. Is it just like gonna be a slice of life, or is it gonna be something more interesting? I'm hoping we get a good plot, but I mean, I guess a slice of life would be interesting. I mean, we had like reverse isekai. We had family drama. Why not? Why not? Either way, I'm interested in seeing what happens next, but the only way we're gonna find that out is if we keep reading, and that's gonna be next time.